Hi folks, Padre Phil here. At last, the children have all gone back to school, and parents everywhere are once more breathing the air of freedom. Freedom! The title of today's video, Human Rights and the Wisdom of Solomon, is inspired by a conversation my wife and I had with our 10-year-old son. We were talking at the dinner table about why it's important to treat everybody fairly, and we asked our son where that idea of fairness comes from. Our son has been brought up in church and Sunday school, and we weren't expecting the answer that he gave us. He replied that the idea of fairness comes from the Human Rights Act. But we asked him, where did the Human Rights Act get its idea of fairness from? I looked up the school website that gives a history of how the Human Rights Act came about through the Magna Carta of 1215, the Habeas Corpus Act of 1679, the Bill of Rights of 1689, and so on. But nowhere does it tell us where the idea of rights and freedom originated. Today we are told that we are living in a rights-based society, and therein lies the problem. Because rights should not be the basis of any society. Rather, rights should be the outcome of a fair society. Let me explain. I'm sure you've heard the phrase, the wisdom of Solomon. That phrase refers to the wisdom displayed by one of the Old Testament kings of Israel. Solomon was famed for his fairness while dealing with other people. I'm sure you've heard about his most famous case. The Bible tells us that two women came to Solomon with a baby, with a child. Both women claimed that they were the baby's mother and wanted the king to rule on who should keep the child. As there were no DNA tests in those days, Solomon acted with absolute fairness and ruled that the baby should be cut in half, with equal halves being given to each woman. Now that's fair, isn't it? That's equality in action, isn't it? But of course, it's a ridiculous thing to suggest. You see, the problem with a rights-based society is that rights, if they are equal, often compete. That's why we have so many conflicting movements for social justice these days. It is my right to do this, but it is your right to do that. What do we do when those equal rights compete? The answer is that society needs not to be based on rights at all, but on something else. So, what happened to the baby case and King Solomon? Well, if you read 1 Kings chapter 3, you'll hear what happened. Solomon, while appearing to insist on absolute equality, was actually depending on something much deeper. He was depending upon morality. Solomon drew his sword as if to cut the baby in two, but one of the women was filled with compassion, with love, and she cried out, "Please, my Lord, give her the living baby. Don't kill him." For Solomon, the verdict was clear. In displaying such love for her child, the real mother, who was willing to give her child away rather than see him killed, had made herself known. The right way to build a society is on morality, on love, not on rights. Rights should be the outcome of our love for one another, not the basis on how we deal with one another. So, where does the idea of fairness and equality and rights actually originate? Such ideas don't exist in a vacuum. They have come from thousands of years of teaching and practicing Judeo-Christian ethics. You see, there would not be a Magna Carta or a Human Rights Act had it not been for the wisdom of Solomon or Jesus' teaching in the Sermon on the Mount. My son has been taught in school that fairness and equality come from the Human Rights Act. No, they don't. They come from the morality and the love and the ethics of the Bible. We would not have what we have today without the Bible. Without a moral foundation, rights become nothing more than a stick to beat the other person, the opposing person, over the head with. They are a blunt tool on which to base anything. And all we end up doing is cutting the baby in half. A rights-based society will never be right. Only a love-based society. Only a society based on morality. Only when our foundations are there will we have a fair, right, and just society. God bless. Ta-ta for now.